The gut microbiome is everything from your mouth to your colon and the trillions of bacteria, fungi, viruses and cells that live there. These tiny microorganisms are what make up your gut microbiome and are so important in your everyday health and well-being. Hi guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. While you're here, why not hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also say hi in the comment section below. It really does help me reach more people suffering with IBS and bloating every single day. I do just want to say I am ill, I'm very nasally, but I am on the mend, so hopefully it'll only be a one-off video with this slightly nasal voice. Today we are talking about how you can rebuild gut health after antibiotics by learning what you need to know to build strong gut microbiome. First off, give yourself a round of applause for even clicking on this video and for making your gut health a priority. And second, if you have no idea how antibiotics affect your gut health or no idea what gut microbiome is, I highly advise jumping over to this video first, which I will link up here and drop it in the comment section below. I released this last week and that is all the basics of everything you need to know about gut microbiome and will give you a good base for this video. So what do you need to know in order to build strong gut microbiome? Today I'm going to be explaining the trillions of bacteria and fungus and all those other little critters in your gut with the example of building blocks. So like I said in my last video, each specific color of a building block has a very specific job, and all together they make a really healthy and strong gut microbiome. For example, the green ones might break down the skin of an apple, and a healthy gut microbiome will be filled with every color you can think of, because a diverse gut microbiome is a strong gut microbiome. A healthy gut would look something like this. Lots and lots of different types of healthy microorganisms ready to receive food and break it down when it arrives. And I'm representing this here with lots of different colors of building blocks. So without further ado, let's find out how you can build strong gut microbiome. Tip number one for building strong gut microbiome is eat lots of fruit and vegetables. Fruit and vegetables are complex and they're made up of so many different substances. Therefore, they require lots of different types of building blocks in order to be broken down. So they really support and feed into building a healthy and diverse gut microbiome culture. And the team of building blocks that it would take to break down an apple is completely different to the team of building blocks it would take to break down something like a cabbage. Tip number two is to have a healthy and well-rounded diet. For example, let's say that you decide that you're only going to eat foods high in fat. Things like ice cream, cheese, hot dogs, burgers, pizzas. Now all of those foods are quite simple and they only require a small number of building blocks in order to be broken down. So for example, all of the fats and all of the carbs in those 5 foods might only require red and blue building blocks. And that's because they're not nutrient dense. Now, if you go on eating this way, if you go on eating only high fats and high processed foods, your gut is going to listen to you. It's very clever. It's going to put all of its energy and resources into making more red and blue building blocks because you're telling your gut that's all it needs. And that means that you'll have lots of red and blue building blocks ready for when you eat your next hot dog or your next pizza or your next burger. Now, the underlying problem with this is that you're eventually going to mess up your gut ratio. And by this, I mean the balance of your gut microbiome. Like that multicolored picture that I showed you at the beginning, that's healthy. So imagine if we only now have reds and blues, because that is what's going to happen. You're going to end up with loads of reds and blues and no yellows, oranges, greens, purples, or any other color that you can possibly think of, because you're telling your body that it's not necessary and that there's no need for them. This leads to unhealthy and non-diverse gut bacteria. So having a well-rounded diet with lots of different fruit and vegetables, kefir, probiotic yogurt, the more types of food that you can get into your diet, the better, because it will support a more diverse culture of gut microbiome. And like I said earlier, diverse gut microbiome is strong gut microbiome. Tip number 3 is exercise. If you needed another reason to exercise, this is it. A study was done by Woods and Allen. They took participants who were very sedentary, who didn't really do much, and what they did is they took a sample of their gut microbiome. Then they asked the participants to do cardio 3 times a week for 6 weeks, and at the end of that 6 weeks, they took another sample of their gut microbiome. At the end of the 6 weeks of activity, they found that they had massive increases in good gut microbiome, including microbes that decrease the risk of inflammation disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. Exercise is something that should be part of our everyday lives, but sometimes it just slips away from us. Our schedule gets too busy, you make excuses, you don't want to do it, you feel ill. But if you're really struggling with your gut microbiome, try and incorporate 3 times a week some cardiovascular exercise for 6 weeks and then see how you feel. Although I will just say on a side note, they did find that the gut microbiome returned to its original unhealthy culture once they stopped exercise for another 6 weeks. So consistency for this tip is key. Now my next tip is to eat fermented foods. This is a great way to reintroduce and rebuild gut health after antibiotics. And that's because fermentation usually involves some kind of fungus or bacteria. And so it can be a great way to add a different building block to your gut microbiome diversity. You can try yogurt, kimchi, kefir, kombucha, tempeh and cultured milk, and any other fermented foods that you can think of. Let's bring you down a little bit. There we go. Do I sound awful? I feel like in my head I sound so nasal. I'm just like, I sound like Janice. Janice. Hi, Janice. Actually, stick your favorite Janice quote in the comment section below. Tip number 5 is to reduce stress. Now, I could talk to you for hours about why stress is so bad for your gut and why it's so important to reduce stress so that you can have healthy and strong gut microbiome. But luckily enough for you, I've already made a video on this. I made a video called Why Stress is Your Worst Enemy and how your gut deals with stress, which I will link up there for you and also drop it in the comment section below. I would highly advise that you go and watch that after this video, because understanding stress it's so key to understand why gut health is the way it is. So if you're trying to learn about gut health and trying to educate yourself on gut health, I do have lots of different videos, but this would be one that I would start with, because stress is just, it's kryptonite. Stress is the gut's kryptonite. It's the best way that I can describe it to you. The more you understand stress, the better you can deal with stress and help your gut when you're in times of stress. Because stress isn't something that we can always just opt out of. We can't just fix it. Making that video changed my life, never mind even sharing it with you guys. I'll even stick it on the end screen for you so you don't even need to worry about it on one of the boxes at the very end of this video. In short, stress is awful for your gut, and the reason for that is because your gut and your brain are so intimately connected. They constantly speak to each other, and it's kind of why when you feel really stressed, you might instantly get butterflies in your stomach, or you might get really backed up, or you might get chronic diarrhea, or you might feel really nauseous. All of these things are gastrointestinal, but they're happening because you're stressed, and the two of them just gossip. The gut and the brain, they sit around chatting all day long. It can just be unbelievably difficult to cope with stress, especially with like digestive issues like IBS, bloating, IBD, Crohn's disease. Any of those things are severely triggered by stress. So understanding that relationship is so important when it comes to looking after yourself and looking after your internal health. I've just realised that I had the door open the entire time that I was filming that, and there are seagulls losing their goddamn shit outside. So I really hope that you didn't hear all of that. Tip number 6 is fasting, and fasting is such a great way to rebuild gut health after antibiotics. If you have stuck with me for the long haul and watched my other videos, you know that I am a massive advocate for fasting and the amazing benefits that it can have on the gut. I have 2 videos which I absolutely love if you want to learn more. One, what is intermittent fasting and how does it work, which I will link up there for you and drop it in the comment section below. And 2, bloated stomach after eating, how to improve your gut health, which again I will link up there for you and drop it in the comment section below. However, talking about fasting in relation to building strong gut microbiome isn't something that I've touched on before. So research has shown that intermittent fasting days is really beneficial for gut health. So 24 hours of normal meals and snacks, 24 hours of no foods and no calories, and then 24 hours of normal meals and snacks. And this process has been shown to promote bacterial clearance. What? Bacterial clearance is basically where the gut is able to regain the perfect balance of bacteria in your gut. So basically the correct ratios of building blocks. So if the ideal building block ratio is 3 yellow to 1 green to 2 reds, in that 24-hour period, your gut is able to make that ratio happen and make that strong foundation for any food that's coming down. Also, they found that in the time of no food, the bad bacteria, the negative bacteria, starved way before the good bacteria, which meant that it could wipe out some of the bad critters that are living in your gut and give the good bacteria time to take back their territory. Tip number 7, eat whole grains. A lot of the tips I've shared so far are going to help rebuild your gut health in your stomach and small intestines, which are further up. They're closer to the top of your digestive tract. This tip, on the other hand, is going to help you rebuild your gut microbiome in your lower and larger intestines. The reason you should eat lots of whole grains is because they contain a lot of fiber and non-digestible carbs like beta-glucane. In order to be digested, these need to go to the large intestine because the small intestine isn't up for the job. So eating these kinds of things will promote building blocks to exist in your larger intestine intestines, which are key for breaking down these stubborn carbs and high fiber foods. And this will support more diverse building blocks and a better and stronger microbiome in your large intestines. And at the end of the day, what we're looking for is a healthy gut from entrance to exit. Another side benefit is whole grains have been shown to increase your feeling of fullness, decrease inflammation, and decrease heart disease risk factors. Examples of whole grain foods are things like buckwheat, barley, brown rice, oatmeal, popcorn, and whole wheat bread, pasta, and crackers. Tip number 8 is to reduce animal fats and animal products. Try eating more plant-based foods. Like I said earlier, fruit and veg is so complex and really does help broaden the colour spectrum of all the building blocks in your gut. And this tip is especially important if you're trying to rebuild gut health after a course of antibiotics. Going vegan or veggie for a small amount of time or 3 or 4 times a week is a fantastic place to start, and it will help you to build strong gut microbiome and be a good friend to the environment. Finally, tip number 9 and our final tip for today is probiotics. Now, I want you to take this particular tip with a pinch of salt. Probiotics are something that some people swear by and they think that it's the be-all and end-all. Specialists say that it isn't. If you've had a specific test done or a sample taken from your gut microbiome and they say, look, you're lacking in this one specific area, this probiotic can fill that hole for you, fantastic. That might be everything you need to get your gut microbiome back on track. However, if you want to build strong, sturdy gut microbiome, then you need to do it with foods, grains, rice, oils. You need to show your gut all of the foods that you want to be able to eat without having problems. And in order to do that, you need to train your gut. You need to tell it, go for it. Make me more green building blocks. Make me more red, more blue, more yellow, more purple. Show your gut as many different types of foods you possibly can on a weekly basis. And this will give you a diverse, strong, healthy, amazing, incredible gut microbiome, which will see you through the rest of your life, improving your health, decreasing sickness, and even in things like sport and fitness, it improves recovery time. And it's such an amazing thing to do after you finish a course of antibiotics, because obviously antibiotics are not good for your gut health. But the truth is, they're extremely helpful. They save our lives, they save us from worlds of pain when it comes to bacterial infections, and there's nothing that can replace them. So when you need to take antibiotics, just make sure that you give your gut microbiome some love when you're done. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me. I really hope this video helped you learn how to rebuild your gut health after antibiotics and told you everything you need to know to build strong gut microbiome. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to jump on down to that subscribe button and again say hi in the comment section below. It really does help me reach more people and grow my channel. If there's anything you want to add or any more tips that you think people might like, make sure to drop them in the comment section below. It's a great way to share information and to learn from each other. Make sure also to jump on over to my Facebook and Instagram. I will tag my handle for you just there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Bye!